The following is an undated letter written by Raymond Austin Crummer, 1887 to 1968. The early home was two front rooms on the southeast, dining room and kitchen combined at first. Later, the kitchen was added, and when Grandpa Pulley came to live with us, the southwest bedroom and upstairs bedroom were added. The stairway was changed from the west living room to the other side of the bedroom on the southwest. Our porch was added later, after Eleanor was born. The front porch was the same always, except for remodeling. The name of the area was called the Lincoln Church Community. My boyhood days were not too exciting. Now, we went to church and Sunday school every Sunday at our little church. The services were in the afternoon, and first we had pastor from Pomeroy, Reverend Chapler, to come up by team and buggy. Later, we were connected to Pocahontas when Reverend C.W. Flint was our pastor. He built the first Methodist church in Pocahontas and afterwards became one of the bishops of the United States and has lived till after we consecrated our new church in Pokey. Reverend Flint's son and Dr. McKay went to college together. I went to school in the same little country school that you girls did. When I was about 5 or 6 years of age, I would ride along with Mother to Pomeroy to do the trading during the warmer weather. She drove a little old pony and buggy, and it would be a long day before we arrived back home. She sometimes would give me 25 cents, but I should only buy something necessary, such as a handkerchief. On the way home, if I'd been a good boy, she would give me a whole stick of candy, and I'm sure she was most kind and loving mother to us all. I had certain jobs to do, and I am sure that they were all done. We did not sass or talk back to our mother, as a large switch always was at the ready. Mother was a tall and stately lady and was respected by everyone. She had a beautiful brown eyes, and when she had her Sunday school clothes on and ready for church, oh, how I admired her. Everyone that knew her had great respect for her and admired her, as she was a wonderful Christian woman. Dad has told me many times that I look more like her than any of the children, and you look more like her than any of the grandchildren, Eleanor. Mother was always humming or singing church songs at home. My dad was sheriff of Pocahontas County when I was a small boy, so you see, Mother had to be pretty firm with us children, and I'm sure she had the right way to do it. I remember once, when I was about 12 years old, I sneaked the old shotgun and went down to the creek to shoot at ducks. Well, I hit one, and it fell into the small trees near the water. The ice was thin, and I broke through about 3 feet of ice water. I got hold of the duck and walked about a mile home. When I arrived, my clothes were stiff as a board, so Mother stood me up beside the hot heating stove until I could get the clothes off. Then she gave me a good rub down and mixed up some kind of hot drink and put me to bed. I took the medicine and never even caught cold once. Dad came home from Pocahontas either Friday or Saturday night and would stay until Monday morning. He had a team of white-faced ponies that he drove, We were always glad to see that team coming down the road. He used to stop at home many times on his way to Pomeroy with a prisoner or maybe an insane person or two, and we were always curious about those handcuffs. We had real gospel and Bible stories taught to us in church and Sunday school, and the good old songs were sung. The sermon prayers that my dad and some of the old farmers gave were most wonderful. The older I get, I realize that my life has been a good start when I was young and molded in the right Christian way. I guess my sisters and I have done a better job in the Christian work than others. As to the games we played, Ren and I always had a bunch of pups and dogs around to play with. We used to play with Dad's nice white-faced calves, too. We used to rope and ride the calves. Every spring, we had about 30 in the barn. By next winter and spring, these calves would be big enough to sell. It was lots of fun to watch Dad rope these calves. When a farmer would come to buy one, he'd load it into the wagon and tie it down. Dad was good to us most of the time, but when we became unruly, he would speak the word, stomp his foot, and that was that. I remember just once Dad gave me a real whooping. When I was going to school to Sister Ada, I had the idea that I would not listen to her one day. I became a bit unruly in school. She gave me a thrashing then, and when Ada got home and told Dad, well, then I really got one that I never did forget. I must tell you something about the great prairie fires. I can remember once when your mother had us smaller children out on a plowed field to protect us. Oh, how the farmers used to work so hard to head off those fires. Dad was a good manager, and a sheriff performed his duties in the proper manner and was respected all over the county. He was called Honest John. I have tried to act and live as my good father and mother. Dad was one of the good sound pioneers that helped make a good government, rules and laws to live by in these present years. In my teen years, our schoolmates and Sunday school mates were our acquaintances. The Trenary twins, Charles and John Olson, Fred Freeman, and the Berry children. I used to date one of the twins, or Florence Berry, at the time. We went to Epsworth League on Sunday and walked home with the girls. Later, I had a horse and a buggy, and boy, I was a big shot then. During my early teen years, I was much more bashful than later on, and my activities were very meager compared to now. I finished the 8th grade when I was about 17 years old and did not get to go to school only about 5 months of the year. I had to work on the farm in the fall and spring. When I went to Tobin College for 5 months, where I took an academic course, I came home in March and took teacher's examination. I passed it and received a certificate. The county superintendent had a school for me up by Havelock. I drove up there each Monday morning and stayed at a lovely ranch home and went home on Friday. I taught 3 months at $45 a month. The next September, Dad sent me on the train to Cedar Falls, where I spent 3 full years. It was mostly academic, and I took extra music and business training. I had 3 months of practice teaching at Cedar Falls and taught the first class in this little in this line that had been taught in the elementary school. The old professor used to come in and observe, and said I seemed to know what I was doing, and my discipline was most excellent. He gave me an A-, and after receiving my state certificate, I taught a year or two and then was tired of being shut inside, and Dad said if I wanted to do farming on the old place, he and stepmother would move out and just keep the house for me until I got married. The main reason Dad gave me a good education was that my health was not good, and I needed something in my head to make a living. Even after I was on the farm, I taught the East School for 5 months, as there were too many big boys, and they had run out 4 different women teachers. It was during this time that there were country home parties that I met your mother. I met her at Richard Segrin's folks' home. I was one ahead of Wren asking her for lunch. That was the luckiest moment of my life. Mother was teaching at Alvida's folks at the time. It took a lot of trips with a team and buggy and miles back and forth to prove the worthy hand that I sought. It took 2.5 years to get her and beat out about 3 other fellas, and she said yes.